with anything weird about the
Collapse?
bridge collapse?
Yeah, there was a lot of things that happened. So let me just put into context the
Yeah.
story. 23 years ago now, the bridge collapsed, and my studio partner Rob Espericueta, he was one of the four guys that helped save the only three survivors that night. So he had a very intimate knowledge of the whole story. And the reason why he had an intimate knowledge of it is because 30 days later, he started journaling everything that happened so he wouldn't forget, right? And this is what happened when we started the podcast, because it all started from a podcast. And I wanted to fact check him. It's like, how do you know what you're saying is true? Like, it's been so long, 20 years. Like, how do you remember? He's like, well, the reason I remember is because I started journaling it 30 days later. And his doctor told him, like, you need to get it out. You need to start writing it down because you can't keep that type of thing in you. So he started writing it down, and he's been telling that story for the past 20 years, and finally it started to get some traction 20 years later. Crazy.
Wow.
So yeah,
So what was he doing there? I mean, he was like he was coming from the island, and then shit happened. Or
there was
And good morning, people. This is Beto Sevilla again from your podcast, Gente, Historias y Algo Más. And I'm very anxious today because this is going to be the second time that I record fully in English. And I have a guest today, this beautiful morning in McAllen, one of our neighbors here in the plaza, Josh Morales. Good morning, Josh. How are you?
What's up, guys? How's it going? Good to see you.
Hey, Josh. I like to go and dive into what my research is on every person, and so I don't like to introduce or anything. Just go directly to questions.
Sure.
And one of the first questions that I got was who is my neighbor? Who's Joshua? Who's Joshua, right?
Yeah.
Who's Josh? And so I started doing my research, and I came up into the documentary about the Queen Isabella bridge.
Yep.
For the people that to put in context to people, the Queen Isabella was or still is the bridge between the
Port Isabel
and
South
Padre Island. So for those people that follow us, it's the big ass bridge that we cross every weekend.
9 million people cross that bridge every year.
9 million people?
9 million.
90?
9
9
million. That's a lot.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot. Imagine if we would get $1 for every one of them.
No, well, that definitely wouldn't go to us. It would go to South Padre Island.
Yeah, it would go to South Padre Island. It's weird. During your research, did you ever come up why it's Padre Island? That's one of my questions.
Yeah,
always. Like
I know that a long time ago, settlers came and they came on a ship, and then they settled here, and then they claimed that land. So that's pretty much all I know about that. I never dived into the history of that, but I know they just found a ship over there, which is pretty interesting. It was dug under a bunch of sand and stuff like that. They're starting to recover it, but it's interesting. There's so much history here in the Rio Grande Valley. It's
that we don't know anything about.
Nobody.
And I mean, this is a story that someone told me back in Reynosa, back in the day. I think it was 20 years ago. There is a family in Reynosa. Their last name is Barrera, and supposedly one of their ancestors came and was the one that claimed that piece of land.
Really?
Supposedly, and that's. I mean, you can fact check it if you want to. This is what they told me while we were having drinks. So I don't know if it's real or not. And so this guy was a priest. So that's why it's called Isla del Padre, because priest in Spanish is padre.
Interesting.
And supposedly, I don't know. That's up to you.
Yeah.
I mean, you already did the documentary about the bridge. Now you can maybe start something with it. That's an idea to start something new with the island name. And just question: did you come up with anything weird about the bridge collapse?
Yeah, there was a lot of things that happened. So let me just put into context the story. 23 years ago now, the bridge collapsed, and my studio partner Rob Espericueta, he was one of the four guys that helped save the only three survivors that night. So he had a very intimate knowledge of the whole story. And the reason why he had an intimate knowledge of it is because 30 days later, he started journaling everything that happened so he wouldn't forget, right? And this is what happened when we started the podcast, because it all started from a podcast. And I wanted to fact check him. I was like, how do you know what you're saying is true? Like, it's been so long, 20 years. Like, how do you remember? He's like, well, the reason I remember is because I started journaling it 30 days later. And his doctor told him, like, you need to get it out. You need to start writing it down because you can't keep that type of thing in you. So he started writing it down, and it just, he's been telling that story for the past 20 years, and finally it started to get some traction 20 years later. Crazy.
Wow.
So yeah.
So what was he doing there? I mean, he was like, he was coming from the island and then shit happened, or?
There's a backstory to that too, right? Which is very interesting also, but for the case of the documentary, he went out fishing with his 4 cousins, or 3 cousins, right? And he just wanted to get out. He wanted to go escape and go have a good time. And the interesting part about that they didn't have any beer. They didn't have anything. They just wanted to go out and go fishing. And they wanted to escape from the world. And all the ports were closed because 9/11 had just happened.
Yeah.
And this kind of got overshadowed by 9/11 because it happened 4 days later. And to this day, people still think that there is a terrorist attack that happened at the island because of that bridge collapse.
And what happened?
So what happened is a tugboat pulling 3 barges hit one of the pillars, and it collapsed the highest part of the bridge. I think it was 87 feet high, and cars flew off. And these guys were on the bottom, and they helped save the only 3 survivors that night.
Wow, how many people died?
I believe it was 11.
Damn.
Yeah.
I heard the story about it because when I saw the documentary, I was like, oh yeah, that thing fell a few years ago. And I was like, yeah, it was like 10 years ago, but no, it's been
23 now.
23 years
23.
ago. And I remember working for this other company, and one of the partners had been with his mistress.
Wow.
In the island that weekend, or that particular day, I don't know. And so he came into the island with his mistress, and for a couple of days, and he couldn't escape from the island. So he had to stay. He had to. I don't know what he did, but he had to pay a lot of money to get him out of the island with his car, with the other person. He had to come up clean with his wife. Like,
yeah, there was a ferry that would bring people across because you couldn't access the bridge anymore. So the ferry was bringing cars and people and stuff like that.
I think he used that, and so, but he had to come up clean with his wife.
Yeah.
He was like, okay, I was in the island, I was supposed to be working, but this happened, so I'm gonna stay a couple of days.
Catastrophic events is crazy.
The crazy thing is that he is still married to the. I'm not gonna say.
Yeah.
Which one? But he's married. One of them. To one of them. Qué loco, güey. Qué loco. And what inspired you? What inspired you to do? One, you told us already that you wanted to fact check your friend.
Yeah.
But 2, I mean, what inspired you to go into filmmaking? Because it's not easy. I mean, right now it's easier for us because we have mobile phones, we have cameras, and everything is cheaper than 23 years ago, or maybe 10 years ago, or I don't know. What was the year?
It was, we started filming it in right after COVID, like right at the height of COVID. What
inspired you to, like, you know what, I'm just gonna grab my camera and do some filmmaking?
Well, the thing was,
do you have any background to it?
No. So what happened was I had always been into podcasting. Like, I started my first podcast in 2016, and it was for selfish reasons. I wanted to learn from entrepreneurs. I wanted to learn how they're doing the things that they're doing, so I can do it.
Yeah.
And then years later, Rob came in. He's like, "Hey, dude, I have a story. Can you come and listen to me?" And I was like, "I don't have time, dude. Like, I'm not interested. I was too busy." And then he kept contacting me. I kept blowing him off. And then maybe like a year after that, he was like, "Dude, if you don't like what you hear, then just give me an hour of your time. You don't like what you hear, you don't have to do anything." I sat there and my jaw dropped. I was like, wow, this is such a compelling story that nobody knows. Like, nobody's heard this story.
Yeah. I mean, we all remember
But you don't know the details.
But we don't know the details, and we don't know how many people died, and we don't know exactly what happened.
Yeah. So this story shed a lot of light on it, and at the same time, I was working with a digital marketing agency, and we had hired camera guys, some of the best camera guys in the valley, and I was always with them. So I was like, I'm learning from these guys like firsthand how to do all these things. So I started picking up the camera because we started getting a little bit more busier, and I was like, I could do this. So I started picking it up, and then Rob was like, let's shoot a documentary. I was like, okay, let's do it. Let's try it.
And did you do the because one thing is to record everything, but the editing.
Yeah, I did the editing, the producing,
crazy, man.
the filming. We went, I believe, I forget where we flew. But yeah, we traveled quite a bit, and yeah, I shot everything with a Sony camera.
with a handheld, the small
digital,
one?
Yeah, a digital camera. Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
Con madre, no.
Well, but that just shows you, because if I look back at it now, and it's not shot that great, but the story is what really matters.
That's what people. I mean, when I started the podcast a year ago, it's gonna be a year already.
Wow.
And I started with a phone, with an iPhone, with an iPhone 12, and some microphones and all that. And my first thing was, I will be ashamed, of people seeing me or talking about me, or I was just anxious to know if people would like what I was sharing.
Yeah.
And when I started uploading things to YouTube, I was like, maybe people are not gonna like what I'm sharing. And one of my editors said, dude, leave it that way. Don't change it. People like to see the evolution of things.
Yeah.
They don't
and the
want
authenticity too.
Exactly, because one thing, and I've seen it in podcasts with new podcasts that have just came out live. All production, lights, microphones.
Yeah.
I mean, a set of 5-6 people behind the scenes, and a big ass set, and it's like, yeah, I mean, I get it. It looks nice. It looks cool. But for me, it resonates that people wants to see the evolution. And one of the things that had happened to us is that the followers that we have, they have been following us since the very first chapter.
Beginning, yeah.
Yeah, and they like to see that, because I've now, after a year, I have been able to know, because I see people that, hey, I remember your first podcast with your cell phone, and it was really cool, but the one that you just uploaded last week was fucking awesome. The cameras, the light. I was like, okay, yeah. I mean, it makes sense. You know?
It really is an evolution, because I think we did it the smart way. It's like, I started with my phone too, where it's just audio. And I was like, you want to test it out, because podcasting is difficult. You have to be able, one, to speak on camera. You have to have a good personality on camera. Then you got to book guests, and you got to book them consistently over and over and over again. Then you have to film it. Then you have to edit it. Then you have to distribute it. So there's a lot of factors to it. And I think a lot of people that buy all those huge productions and stuff and have everybody on there, they really don't understand that this is everything that it comes with. This is not like clicking record and then upload. Like, there's a lot that dives into it. Like, you did research on me.
Yeah.
Like, those things all matter, because if you don't have a good conversation, then nobody really cares.
Exactly. And research, you said it. Research is very important. I had a guest a few weeks ago. She's a writer. She's Mexican, but she lives here in McAllen, and she has already published 2-3 books, I believe. And I started doing some research about her, and I could only come up with the first book. And so I was like, I don't like to use it, but I'm gonna have to go to ChatGPT and see what happens. So I put up her name. I was like, and all her backstory. I mean, biography, the name of the books. What was it all about the books? What would everything. I was like, damn, now get me 10 questions about it.
It's interesting too, because like the way I grew up in like the digital marketing world. So if you Google my name, you see a ton of different content from LinkedIn to Facebook to articles that I've written to documentaries. I'm on IMBD, but I did that on purpose. That way, when people search me, that's me. Like everything about me is on there. The internet is optimized to me.
Oh, that's a good.
And I don't think people really understand that. Like you can optimize the internet to an individual, like an entrepreneur or business owner that wants their selves to be out there, not necessarily their business, but they want to be out and be in the public eye. That's how you do it. Is you optimize the internet to be able to say Joshua Moros, you Google it, and then you have so much different information about that person. It's a great thing too because you show people what you want them to see. Yeah. Like, you don't have to share everything. I think people get confused when they go on social media. Is that you got to show your kids, you got to show what you're eating, you got to show that you're married. You show people what you want them to see because that's a person that you can create online, and that's your online image. So that's kind of where I started pushing the optimization of my name on the internet, and it's worked out really well because you Google me, you'll see everything about me.
Yeah, and it pops up. I mean, you name it, LinkedIn, every social network. You're out there, and then I Googled my name, and I was like, just YouTube.
And it's Instagram. Difficult. It takes a long time. It takes a long time because you just have to create content over and over and over and over and over and over and over again,
and all over the place.
And most people won't do it.
Yeah, most people won't do it. I mean, for me, this is new. I'm a business person, and I've been doing business since I was 14, 15 years. And maybe earlier, because I remember selling gum outside of my house.
Yeah.
So
the true entrepreneurial spirit.
We wanted money. I mean, I have a really love-hate relationship with money, and I love to do it, but I hate to spend it.
Yeah.
But somehow it goes.
It goes faster than it comes in.
So it's a love-hate relationship.
Yeah, and I've always had that too, but I remember telling that to my dad. Like, you don't need money. You don't need anything. He's a business owner. He's like, shut up. He's like, eventually when I got older, it's like, yeah, you need money. Like, it makes everything go, and it makes everything a little bit easier too. So I kind of changed my mindset around money. Specifically, like a lot of like fancy vehicles, like Lamborghinis, Porsches, stuff like that. Like everybody's like, you don't need those things. And then I see some people, like when I was in Miami recently, there's like there's Bugattis, there's Lamborghinis everywhere. I was like, well, let me change my mindset again, because this is the only time in my life that I could probably ever have one of those things. Because once we're gone, we're gone. Like you can't enjoy the cool toys and stuff like that anymore. So I had to change my mindset around money, because it was always one of those things like, you don't have enough. You got to compete. You got to do all this other stuff with everybody. It's like, nobody cares.
Nobody cares.
Yeah, nobody cares.
Nobody cares. But you care.
Yeah.
And what you think about yourself cares.
Yeah, it matters. Yeah.
Exactly. And for me, it was the other way around. I loved watches. I love cars. I love caps. I mean, I have hundreds of caps, and I would just go out and buy, and I would just go out and trade my car every single year. If a tire was flat, I was like,
excuse.
That's an excuse to go change my car, and I would do that, and then something switched, something flipped. I don't know what. But I read a book about, and it resonated with me. And we were talking about ADHD before. Yeah. And I still, up to now, I don't know if I have ADHD or not, as I haven't been to a doctor to get a diagnostic. And I don't want to. Yeah. But everything I see and everything I read resonates with me. And at some point in my life, I was just too overwhelmed with the things that I had. Clothes, shoes. Yeah. I mean, even socks. I would have a big-ass drawer full of socks that I wouldn't ever use. And I was overwhelmed. So I read this book. I don't remember the name. And it would say that in order to get your mental peace or peace of mind, you have to get rid of the things that you don't need. Yeah. And I was like, but I need clothes. I need a car. Yeah, you need clothes. But you don't need that much.
All right.
I was like, oh, yeah, it makes sense. And I was like, okay, so what color do I like more? Black. Okay, so I took all the black polos and I threw away everything. And then jeans. okay, I don't use those anymore because I'm too fat
The
already.
minimalist lifestyle.
Yeah, and boom. So I stayed with just a couple of jeans.
Yeah.
And if you see me, I'm a picture walking. I'm a walking picture. I always wear the same clothes,
Yeah.
same jeans, same shoes. Even if I go out into a party, whatever, or a nightclub,
Yeah.
I'm always wearing the same. Like
Yeah.
you see me. A few weeks ago was my sister's wedding, and I was like, damn.
You gotta buy something.
Do I really have to buy a tuxedo? I don't need it. This is gonna be the only one time that I'm gonna use it. Maybe for my daughter's quinceañera.
Yeah.
And I still don't know if she's gonna want a party or not.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I guess
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to buy something, and I did. But when I changed that, everything started to get its own place. You know, everything started to get together in my life.
Yeah.
Like I didn't have the pressure of just
External things that you
thinking
don't
about or thinking about what am I gonna wear today.
need. Yeah.
I have too many shoes. Oh, no manches. I haven't used those ones.
Yeah.
You know, and now I don't have that pressure. And so that released a lot of space in the morning in which now I can use to meditate, to read, to just get a coffee, watch TV, whatever I want.
Yeah, I think you touched on something very interesting because of stress.
Mm-hmm.
Like you think about, I got rid of my closet twice in the past 2 years because I used to weigh 250 pounds, and then I
saw you the documentary.
I was a big guy. I lost 250 pounds, so I've been weightlifting for the past 2.5 years. So I got rid of my closet twice, and I was like, what do I wear the most too? It's like black shirts, jeans, and shoes, so that I wear that mostly all the time. And it really takes the stresses out of like, what am I going to wear today? What am I going to do today? Do I got to worry about this? Like that little stress adds up every single day.
Yeah.
And then I took it a step further as I eat the same thing every day too. Like Monday through Friday, I eat chicken breast and tostadas for lunch. Like I don't eat till 2:00. So every day I don't eat till 2. That's my first meal of the day. And it takes away a lot of stress because everybody thinks about, where am I going to go have lunch? What am I going to do? And then like for business owners, like you eat while you're working.
I eat
like,
here.
Yeah, that's how it is.
I have my vitamins and everything over there. I mean, I have everything here.
The less decisions you have to make in a day, the less stress that you'll have. And then that stress builds up, and then the month goes by and you just keep on getting stressed. And that's what we're talking about, like anxiety, where I started to struggle with anxiety, but I'm assuming it's something else because it's not that.
Yeah, I mean, it might be something else. I mean, you never know.
Yeah, it could be business because, like, as you know, business is hard.
Business is hard, and it has been hard this year.
And I think the saying is, whoever stays in business the longest, that's how it is. Like business owners just have to stay in business.
Yeah.
Like, at any
regardless
cost.
of whatever is happening around you. And the world might be burning outside, but you still have to make.
You still have to get up and put a smile in your face and say hello.
Hey, hello. No, and I was telling you right before we started recording, this has been a long year for me.
Yeah.
And it started bad, and it has been getting better throughout the year. But at some point, I'm like, dude, God, come on.
Yeah.
I talk to him every day.
Same here.
I'm like, dude, and I talk like if I was talking to you. I was like, I'm like, dude, don't you have someone else? like for reals?
Now, we think about that. There's a lot of people that are struggling. Like so many. I think the saying is, people don't care. They'd rather it happen to you than them. So it's like, that's how it is. But I do see that we are going into like a recession. Mm-hmm. Like it's I see it because I work with a lot of business owners, and a lot of them are starting to cut back. They're starting to cut back. They're starting to cut employees. They're starting to cut back on everything. Yeah. And usually, I do marketing and advertising. So usually, the marketing and advertising is first to go, which should be the opposite because you need the eyeballs.
Exactly.
Instead, you get rid of the people that aren't doing anything.
Yeah,
that are standing around all day.
That's how I reacted. The first thing that I did was take off the people that aren't contributing. That aren't contributing to the organization, and that's what I did. So I had a team of around 20 people.
Wow.
And now I only have 3, 4, 5.
Yeah, so you're technically working with the skeleton crew. That's what a lot of businesses have to do to survive.
Yeah.
Because if they don't survive, and I get the both dual sides, because I get the employee part, because I worked for Dairy Queen my dad owns Dairy Queen and Mercedes. So I worked from the age of 3 to the age of 30. That's all I ever knew was just Dairy Queen. I'd look out the window and like, I wonder what like a lunch break is like. Never had them. Now I eat in my damn car to the next place. But also I work with a bunch of business owners too. It's like, I get the stresses. Like your business has to survive, because if your business doesn't survive, then your family doesn't eat. You don't get to pay bills.
Exactly.
It's a very scary thing for business owners. And I think there's both parts of the spectrums. Like the employees, they really don't want to work. And then there's some that do want to work, but also the business owner has to survive. Yeah. Without the business, they don't have anything.
Exactly.
So I get why business owners have to make those hard decisions.
Exactly.
And a lot of them have to go back in and work their business. That's just how it is.
And that's what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
I had to come back into it and dive again into it and start making sales myself.
Yeah.
And started just what we did. It was only one company, and so what we did, we had to expand into 5 different other companies and start to do something different. And so for me, it was just to going out of my comfort zone.
Yeah.
So we opened up a grooming place, which is going to be opened in business in a couple of weeks already. We started a property management company. We started events planning company.
Yeah.
We're doing conferences, just wellness events, and some other stuff. I was like, I have to, because I cannot depend on just one source of income.
Yeah.
And during the year, I've been depending on just one source of income, which is this business.
You can't anymore.
And 2025, I'm not gonna be able to do it. So I was like, if I don't do it this year, next year I'm gonna be.
You're laying the groundwork for what it's, and I did the same too, because I love the digital world. Like a lot of times it's like it's difficult to go in person and do a physical brick and mortar place. So I did the same thing. I started adapting. I got out of my comfort zone. I started options trading. Just everything that's digital. I'm trying to get into that, because it's hard to rely on people, man. Like some people are good, and then some people are just really unreliable. So it's like you really can't rely on people that you would hope that would help you, because at the end of the day, people will go back to their self-interests. Like that's just how it is, and I get it. It's fine, but that's why you see like AI is a huge thing coming out right now. It's like you just talked about ChatGPT. That's like the bottom part right there. Like it's gonna
the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah, the tip of the iceberg. I was talking to my trainer yesterday. I was like, dude, he's struggling right now too, because he's not really tech savvy. I was like, eventually you'll be able to buy a bot from Tesla, which is Optimus, and it'll have the AI. It's going to be less than 100 pounds. It's going to be like $30,000 to $70,000, and you're going to have an employee that can do all of your stuff, even train your people.
Yeah, and that's coming faster than what we think.
Yeah, October 10th is when Tesla's going to announce the robo-taxis.
See?
So eventually they're going to start rolling out more stuff, and more stuff. So Tesla is a very undervalued company.
and it's going to be faster than we think.
Yeah.
I mean, you name it, with the taxis.
Yeah.
And that's just going to be their starting point, and everything's going to start developing after it, but super fast.
Yeah.
And
Uber drivers are going to be gone.
Uber
Lyft
drivers are going to be gone. I mean, I think that at some point, and I don't know if you think about it or not, we're going to be left out, and government will have to go in and tell us, look, you're worthless.
Yeah.
For our society, here's $1,000. Here's your
universal
house,
basic income.
Universal basic income. What do you think about it?
I think it's gonna come because with AI, they're already displacing a lot of people. Like the first thing that's gonna happen is call centers gonna be gone. Like you think about that. How many people work for call centers? Thousands in every state.
Just the T-Mobile one that is right on McCall.
There's thousands of employees that are going to be displaced.
Yeah.
So where are they going to go? Because most of them don't have any other skills.
No.
So what are they going to do? And then they're going to start getting displaced, and then the jobs are going to go down in numbers. So the answer to the older demographic. So right now in America, the older population is starting to die off, and there's a lot of them, right? Mm-hmm. So they still have to be around for a while, right? Mm-hmm. So that aging population no longer works. They're retired, and they have problems because they have health problems. Mm-hmm. Diabetes is huge all across the world. So AI is going to help replace that workload from the older generation. AI is going to be able, with robotics, is going to be able to help them live a better life, longer life. But it's also going to replace a lot of the younger people that just don't have skills. Yeah. So that's why I always talk about like upskilling. A lot of people like, what do I do? What do I do in life? I need to find a better paying job. Yeah. You kind of have to. Uh-huh. But the great thing part is anything in the digital world will help you get ahead, because everything that you see, we're going to a digital world. Yeah. Like that's where it's going. Yeah. So I always tell everybody, it's like upskill into digital world.
I think the same as you. I didn't want to do that switch until I started the podcast. Yeah. And at the beginning, I was like, no, everything has to go organically and whatever. And I wanted to do the research myself and everything. But it got into a point that I couldn't do it anymore.
Yeah, it's not enough time.
Like, okay, let's open up ChatGPT. Wow. Okay. Yeah. And I have it open. I mean, for everything. I use it for business. I use it for you name it. The other day I was like, okay, go into this webpage. Okay, I'm already in. Okay, I need you to get me a list of the best 30 customers from Texas that can buy this, and this from me. 2 minutes. Yeah. Here it is. Can you put it in an Excel format?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's amazing. People still sleep on it, because I try to offer trainings to like businesses, and they don't understand it. Like back in January last year, 2023, well, November 2022 is when it first got released. In January, I got access to it, and I was in it for 2 to 3 hours every single day. I still use it every day. It's open all the time in my computer. But I think people just sleep on it, because it takes a lot of, like, you have to think about certain things, and it takes a lot of that stress away too. But also people think like it's just going to give you everything. Like you still have to prompt it correctly. Yeah. You have to ask it certain. You still have to be knowledgeable, because you are the one at the helm telling it, this is what I need you to do.
And talk to it, because you have to tell her or tell him or whatever you want. Because for me, it's a hair. It's a girl. And I always tell her, okay, this set of questions, save them for future reference, so that you can know me better. Yeah. So now I'm like, okay, I need to write something if it was an act as if you were me, and going. I mean, about this subject. And it started writing, and I'm like, wow.
Yeah, it's amazing. Well, I don't know if you have the paid version, but I have the paid version. You can create GPTs. So GPTs are very specific things, and I have a hard time. The reason why I created them is because I can't find mentors. I'm huge into mentorship, and it's hard for me to find mentors that will give me their time. So with the GPTs, I just recreated all of my mentors. Like I have a business one, I have a digital marketing one, I have a stock one, I have a Bitcoin one, and they teach me stuff. I dive into it every single day, just asking the questions, just interacting and researching, because that's the great thing about ChatGPT is it offers you fast research. And if you can consume content fast, you can keep some of that in your head. So that was one of the reasons why I found it very beneficial for me, is like for $22 a month, you can have mentors that are teaching you everything that you need to know about health, wealth, life, success,
and it's really hard to find mentorship or a mentor. I was having a coffee the other day here in the Arabic restaurant.
Oh yeah, I love that place. I love that place. Good.
I mean, for me, it was the first time. I'm into coffee. I told you before we started
the Turkish
recording.
coffee.
The Turkish coffee.
So good.
I was like, oh wow, this thing is good. And I was having coffee with my life coach, which happens to be a very good friend of mine, and we own a business together. And I was like, just asking for advice, just talking to her. I was like, what do I have to do? Because she coaches me on everything, on every decision.
Who's your life coach?
Selene Ceja.
Okay.
And she's really good. Yeah. I recommend her to you. Really, really good. And she has helped me to switch my thoughts, everything around, that now I can take decisions faster. Because for me, and that's something that I have learned during these last 2, 3, 4 weeks, that I told you about the HDD, because I'm investigating. I'm like, I'm overwhelmed some days with chingos of stuff in my head, and I'm just trying to do things, to work, to sell, to everything, but it's too much and it's overwhelming some days. And I will go to her. I'm like, okay, I need to do this. Okay. And she will give me tools to handle my day in a more efficient way.
Yeah.
Calendar, you name it. Just
I use checklists. Checklists really help me dive into what I'm about to do, because my brain naturally just goes everywhere. Yeah. I'm thinking about so many things. So a checklist grounds me back into it.
Exactly.
I don't think people really understand the power of a checklist.
No, and it gives me a sense of fulfillment at the end of the day.
You check it off and scratch it off.
Wow, because before I was doing lists, I would do a list in my head.
Yeah.
And I would just check everything, mentally checking what I was doing. But if something didn't get done that day, I would be like, shit, I didn't do it. I didn't do this. But when you put it in a piece of paper or in a calendar or something, and then you see that 90% of what you had to do that day got done, you're like, okay, I'm okay. And now, and that releases the pressure of not doing things. And so that's just one of the tools that I have been using. But anyways, I was talking to her about my day and what things were going in the business and what we need to do and blah, blah, blah. And so this person came in. It's a really good friend of mine. And I was like, hey, look who's parking outside. And she was like, oh, okay. Yes. We were alone at the restaurant. Yeah. And then this couple came into the restaurant and we started talking and just sharing, the cup of coffee and everything. But the conversation got into a point, and I don't know if this happens to you, but with the podcast, I'm not ashamed of asking hard questions, even at lunch. Yeah. And I was like, the guy was talking about his life experience and what he changed in his life to be where he is right now. And I was like, okay, but what got you into, or what was the breaking point that got you into switching from the one that you were before to this new person and this new mentality and these new things that you're doing? And he was like, nobody has asked me that before. Yeah. I was like, I'm so bad that I don't have my cameras, because if I had them, I would record. I would be recording already. And he started telling me his backstory and what happened, and it resonated with me because it had just happened to me, this last year. I was like, damn, that's what I needed to hear, Yeah. And I went out of we finished lunch and came back to the office, and I was talking to Selene, and I was like, did you realize that we were at the place and time and that we needed to be? And she was like, yeah, I wanted to hit you under the table so you could put more attention to what he was saying. And I was like, yeah. So I grabbed my phone and I sent him a voice message. And I was like, dude, thank you for your words. I know that they might not meant anything for you, right? But for me, they resonated. Yeah. And I explained, this has been happening to me during this year, and I asked God that morning, if I was in the right way, if I was in the right.
God works fast, huh?
Yeah, and sometimes, yeah, and sometimes you have to figure it out.
Yeah.
I mean, it is what it is, and I remember talking to God that morning. I was like, dude, am I really on the right path? Do I still need to just keep on holding and stressing it? And what do I need to do? Because sometimes as a business owner, you're like, am I doing the right thing?
You question yourself, self-doubt. It's huge.
Yeah, and you get the imposter syndrome every fucking 100%.
day. Think about winning 18 best feature documentary films. Like, I've never even done this. People that go to film school, they strive for that stuff. So
exactly. And then you get into that, and I was like, God, are you but just tell me if I'm on the right path. I'm okay. If not, I can close everything tomorrow.
Yeah.
And just go to work again.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. You know, I made my peace already with that.
Yeah.
That at some point, if everything goes to shit, I go to
you'll
work.
be fine.
Yeah, I'll be fine. So I just go to work.
Yeah.
Ese chingo.
Yeah.
And so I had that conversation, and I told this guy, I asked to God advice and just to tell me if I was in the right path, and he sent me with you, and he was like, no mames, I really appreciate you, whatever you need. And I was like, dude, I have never asked for this before, but I need a mentor.
Yeah.
And you're now in a position in life that I want to learn from you. Can it be done? He was like, 100%.
Nice.
Yes.
Yeah, I think the thing is that people just don't have conversations, like ever. Like me and Rob would sit there for hours just thinking about certain things. Like people just don't sit and think. And then they don't have conversations about that. So I think that's just like a lost thing, a lost art, because you think about like everybody's always in chingas, like go, let's go to the next place. They never stop to have a conversation or to just think. Like it's gone. Like that reality is like, if you don't force yourself and give yourself some time to think, to have conversations, then you really can't arrive to a conclusion. Be like, okay, I did the research, I thought about it a lot. And then this is where I want to go. And then the other topic too is when I talk to God all the time too, and I always tell him, say something to me, because some people like they hear God.
Yeah.
I never hear him.
Not me neither. I always tell him like, dude, just tell me yes or no.
Tell me something.
I don't want to go all day and just thinking about if that red card is gonna be a yes or a no. Just tell me.
Yeah,
Talk to me.
It's an interesting thing because I see there's other certain ways that he speaks to me, right? But I just would like to say, hey, do this.
Yeah.
Sometimes as a business owner, you just need to like do that. But it's not as easy as this.
Some people say that you can talk to your ancestors, that you can talk to your dead grandparent or whatever. I'm not into that. I mean, I would love to.
I want to hear it from the source.
I want to hear from the boss. You know, hey, dude. I mean, you already did this, and for me, and I really like to investigate and to read and everything. And so, for me, with all the documentaries that I have watched and everything that I have read, I think that time it's already there. You know, that he's just sitting above this table, and he can see time, you know, like, okay, this is going on, and he can go back and forth, you know. And I'm like, dude, you already know what's gonna happen. Just tell me what I need to do. I mean, you already know the way, you know. Just tell me what I need to do, where I need to go, and what turn do I need to take or not take, you know, because you're seeing everything. Just tell me.
Yeah, I think that's also part of the great thing about it too, is because if you never failed, then you wouldn't appreciate all the things that you've done. So it's like life is supposed to be hard, and it's fine. Like I get it. Like it's supposed to be a struggle. Yeah. You're supposed to struggle in life to be able to get to a certain place and stuff like that. Because most people they don't want struggle, so they just do the easy stuff.
And it takes you to really nice places. For me, it's a cycle, because I can put my struggles in a calendar. I know what year it was and everything. I'm really good at it, you know?
So it's cyclical.
It's cyclical. Yeah. And I knew that I was...
It's coming.
That I was ready to it, you know? I somehow knew that I was like, you need to get ready. You need to get ready because, I mean, it's been too long already.
Yeah.
And you're overdue. You need it. Get ready.
Yeah.
And when it hit... I was not ready. I wasn't ready. I was like, damn.
Well, it's interesting too, because like in the business cycle, like it happens every 4 years. So like right now we're about to go into a recession. The 4 years ago was the COVID. So if another black swan event happens, like it's just going to go down. It's every 4 years that you're going to go through those roller coasters. But I think a lot of people just don't prepare for those 4 years that are coming up, because it passes by so fast, man. And then when the good is good, everything's fine.
And you don't plan for when it's going to be bad.
Exactly. But the bad is bad. It's like, shit, I got to go into work.
And now I went into work, and now that it's bad, I'm planning for because I know it's going to get better. Yeah. You know, but I'm planning for when it's not better. Yeah. So that's what I'm doing. And it's crazy.
To weather the storm.
Yeah. Hey, you told me about this other, and I'm sorry because we were talking, I wanted to ask you more things about about the documentary and everything. Was it? You already told us that it was an accident and everything. I wanted you to tell me that it was UFOs or a bomb.
I wish I had a good story.
Or a
like
9/11 event or whatever.
It's a very compelling story because at certain points in the documentary, you find out that there's a spiritual aspect to it. So what happened was one of the guys that they picked up, one of the survivors, he was badly beaten and bruised and stuff. They pulled him on. But before that, there was a woman in the water in a white blouse that was calling over the guys, right? And it ended up being his mom. So they only found out that it was his mom when he was laying in the hospital bed when they saw him like 2 weeks later, and he had a picture of the woman in the water, and she had passed away weeks before. So there's a spiritual aspect to this that people don't even realize. Like and we don't start the story off like that because a lot of people are gonna think, that's dumb.
It's gonna be just another thing.
It's something
another
stupid.
ghost story.
So it really ties it together. And the reason why we didn't start with that is because, like I said, people are gonna think it's stupid or whatever. But we have proof that they kept the investigation looking for other people for 2 more days after that, based off of the affidavits from all the 4 individuals that said they all saw that lady in the water. And they had separated these guys. So each of them gave testimony, said that they saw this woman in the water. And that's why they extended the search for 2 more days. And then they finally called it off. But yeah, it's written in history books now. It's like they saw this lady, this apparition, calling over these guys to go rescue her son.
Wow.
Yeah, it's an amazing story.
Wow.
Yeah.
Se me pone la piel chinita.
Yeah.
And you were talking about another documentary, which is the Conquista.
Conquista, yeah.
I couldn't find anything about it. Would you tell us a little
Sure.
bit about it?
So Conquista, we started filming this about 2 years ago. He has a new a gallery here not a gallery. I'm sorry. He's showing his artwork at the IMAS Museum. It just started, I think, last week, and it's gonna be running till January. So Conquista is an interesting character. We ran into him like serendipitously, again, like those things that just happen and they fall into place. We were having lunch here at, I forget, a little buffet down the street. And we met a guy who said that he knew of a guy that spray painted over a $78 million Pablo Picasso in Houston, and one of the most beloved museums in Houston. And he fled the country for 6 months and he served 2 years in jail. I was like, that sounds like an interesting story. So we met with Conquista. He's the epitome of an artist. He's arrogant. He's happy. He's full of love. He's everything. He's all the spectrum, right? And he's a young guy. And when we sat down with him, he walked into the Manil, which is the museum's inside of a museum surrounded by a neighborhood. When I went to go film there, not with Conquista, I went to go film it, there was 35 guards at that time. And he said that when he went in, there was at least 45 guards. I walked in, there was guards everywhere. He walked into the middle of the museum, found his Picasso, pulled out his spray can, spray painted over his stencil, turned around, walked out, fled the country into Mexico, stayed over there for 6 months, and then he came back because the United States was looking for him. Yeah. They were pressuring his family. Like they bugged his family's house. They wanted to look for him. They were looking for him hardcore. So they were terrorizing his family here in Alamo. And eventually, it's crazy. Eventually, he gave up. He's like, the only way you're going to catch me is if you hurt my family. So he gave himself up and then served 2 years in jail. He served every day of those 2-year sentence. Most rapists don't do that.
Wow.
So you think about that. Like child molesters, all those things.
They go out free.
They go out,
on bail.
He served 2 years every single day of that 2-year sentence because they wanted to show that it's a Mexican kid. You don't get away with this. He's from a border town. So they were making a statement. Yeah. So that was a very powerful documentary that we created that shows like the injustices of how society is and looks down.
Where can we find those? On YouTube?
Yeah. Right now I have a membership on YouTube where I have 2 different versions of the Collapse. So one's a 45-minute version. The other one's an hour and 15 minutes. And then I have 2 versions of Conquista on there too. So it's a membership. You go onto YouTube, you pay $9.99 a month, and you can access all of the documentaries. and then you can just cancel it right then and there.
Nice.
I really like the membership aspect. If we're going to a different subject, but I really like the membership because you think about like the work you've done, right? And you're pushing out content all the time. Most people don't care, but there are a few people that really like to follow you. They really like your work, and they will pay. So that's where I really like the membership part and the digital products because like these documentaries, they're on YouTube or I can put them on a website and they will always pay me money. Somebody will always buy the Collapse when the anniversary comes down. So it's $9.99. Just say it's $9.99 once a year, right? That'll pay me forever. That's why I like the digital part. That's why I like the digital world because those digital products you only have to make once. Yeah. And then they sell.
And they sell and you can have them
over
forever.
And over. Yeah, forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been thinking about doing something like that, and I have a story in my mind, but I don't have time. You know, I'm like it's just too much. But eventually, I'm gonna do it because I've been even writing and just putting my story out there because I think that what I'm going through right now, there has to be at least 100 million people going through the same, you know, or maybe less. I don't know.
Yeah.
But there is going to be a market for it, you know?
Yeah.
Because everyone is struggling. Yeah. Everyone and people like to see how to get out of things fast because we all need a solution, a fast solution. So
that's why I really like the coaching lifestyle because if you have any experience, then you can teach that experience. And you think about this too, is like I feel like men are already at a disadvantage with everything. Like you talk about women, you talk about health, you talk about everything. Like men are just in a disadvantage for everything. So you have to work like twice as hard. I feel that it's easier for women to grow. I could be completely wrong, right? I don't know. But I feel, and that's obviously because I'm a man, I feel like it's more, everything's stacked more against us than women because it's a little bit easier for women to get attention, to get in front of people. But I mean, I could be completely wrong. I'm not a woman. But yeah, I feel like everything's stacked against it. That's why it's important that men get coached or find coaching, a mentorship or something like that because a lot of people are lost. Like they don't know what to do. They're waking up lost. They don't know what they're going to do in the future. They think about the past. They're stuck in a rut. So if you just have like a little mentorship for men, they're saying, this is how you do it. This is where you go. This is what you do when this happens. Because everybody has different life experiences, right? And I'm 43 now, so I've lived certain life experiences. I'm married. I have 2 children. So I've gone through different things that a lot of people are about to go through, right? So it's an interesting thing. I really like the coaching aspect because I feel like a lot of people are lost. And for like $9.99 a month, you can join this and we can teach you. Something like I think people really need to take advantage of that, the digital world that we live in where we can talk on the internet right now. Like it's powerful. Yeah, you can reach so many people.
Yeah, and I told you a few minutes ago. I mean, there is 100 million people going through what you're going through right now. That's it. There is a market for everything. For every single story that you might think is not gonna work, there is a market for it. And so that's why I've been writing all day. I mean, not all day. I'm obligating myself to do it 2 hours a day. Yeah. And it's paying off. I mean, it's going through. I was like, who is going to read what I'm writing? And then I read it, and I'm like, oh, it's not that bad. But Josh, we have to wrap this thing up, and I'm really glad you put us in your calendar, and we're able to come into my second English podcast.
Awesome. I appreciate you for having me, man.
And thank you very much. Where can people find you on social media?
You can just Google me, Joshua Moroles, JOSHUAMOROLES, and you can it'll pop up everything on there. And I think also I do want to push people to my website, joshuamoroles.com. I do marketing and advertising. At the beginning of the year, January, I switched over my marketing agency to an advertising agency because I found out that a lot of business owners don't have the time for marketing.
Exactly.
So the advertising on the back end offers immediate results, and I've been able to get businesses immediate results over and over and over again every single day. So I just want to push joshuamotors.com. Go out there. If you like what you see, we can work together. It doesn't have to be only here in the Rio Grande Valley, but it can be across the United States.
Nice. Thank you, Josh. And yeah, you can Google Josh. You just put Josh Morales and you're going to find everything about him, just as I did. And if you don't want to Google it, you can just go into ChatGPT and look. Here's his backstory and everything. Josh, again, thank you very much for coming in this morning. And I'm really glad to have you as neighbor and have you in our podcast. You're welcome next time, anytime. You just let me know. We can talk about everyone and everything. Okay.
Next time we talk about aliens. Man.
Yeah. Next time we have to talk about aliens. Thank you very much, people. This is we're wrapping up. This is the end. Thank you for watching, and please subscribe into our YouTube channel. Don't forget, these things are not cheap and they are not free, so we have to pay for this. So just go subscribe, and if you don't want notifications, you can switch them off, but subscribe because this is not free. Josh, thank you.
See ya,
guys. Thank you.